This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness. Living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness, and a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start, because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Max Bankman, I'm the new doctor.
Welcome aboard the Odyssey.
ABC Thursdays.
This ship is heaven. We're tending to our passengers' dreams. I'm in.
From 911 executive producer Ryan Murphy comes a splashy new drama on a luxury cruise ship with Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson.
It's your job to keep everyone alive.
She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
Dr. Odyssey. Thursdays, 9/8 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
You know that feeling when you walk into your home, take a deep breath, and feel new? Well, that's what it's like to use Clorox Scentiva. Because Clorox Scentiva smells like coconut, cleans like Clorox, and feels like energy. It'll elevate any cleaning routine to not just clean, but also make every room smell like a tropical coconut getaway. Discover how Clorox Scentiva's powerful clean and refreshing scents can transform your space. Get yours in coconut or other fabulous scents at a nearby retail store.
Are lingering depression symptoms affecting you? If you're on an antidepressant and still struggling with lingering depression symptoms, ask your doctor about a lift in relief with Vraylar, cariprazine. Vraylar is a prescription medicine approved for use with antidepressant medicines to treat major depressive disorder, MDD, in adults. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. Results may vary. Vraylar is not approved in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis or for people under 18. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness, feeling like you need to move around, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common side effects. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. For a lift in relief, ask about adding Vraylar, Vraylar. Visit Vraylar.com or call 1-877-6-VRAYLAR to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Zoe, and you're listening to Climbing in Heels for your weekly dose of glamour, inspiration, and fun. My guest today is a newer friend of mine, but it feels like I've known her, honestly, for my whole life. Briony Raymond is a fine jewelry atelier, and her expertise in creating some of the most exquisite jewelry has made her highly sought after in Hollywood and beyond. From boarding school to a career in finance, which honestly is quite impressive, Briony found her passion in the luxury jewelry space and has really never looked back since. Briony's creativity and savvy mind for business is so inspiring, and I have so much in common with her as a working mom in a high-demand industry. She is truly a gem in every way. So let's get right into it. It's going to be such a fun one. I've wanted to have you on because you're a little bit of this, in my opinion, secret weapon, I think, in the world of jewelry. And I think there's a lot of, you have this devoted customer, you have, I would say, clientele. Makes more sense here. But I would say you have a very loyal, devoted clientele, some that, nobody knows, some that many would know. But in the world of luxury jewelry, it is pretty top secret, right? And I think you've probably built your career in a very top secret manner. And so I wanted to bring you on today to sort of talk about this very unknown world to most people and how you decided to go out on your own and create Briony Raymond, and which is such a chic name, by the way. It's crazy. I think I fell in love with you. We'll get into it more later, but I do want to say how we met was funny enough, not through jewelry, but that you came up to me at the Beverly Hills Hotel during award season. And I had my boys, and you were like, oh, I have 2 boys, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, the first thing I noticed as you're talking to me is your pound of jewelry you had on. And I'm like, what on earth? And you were like, yeah, I have a suite here. I'm here like dressing people for Oscars or whatever. And I was like, why don't we know each other? Like, I was a little confused, like, how come we didn't know each other? And then I think later that year, you were like, I'm here and I just want to show you something I created for you and like whatever. And then it was love at first sight. And from that point on, I was like, we're girlfriends. I get you. I see you in many ways. And I think since that time, I feel like I've known you a long time, but I continue to be a fan. And so I want to talk today about your journey to the top because it's an interesting one for sure. And I think it's important to share. So, okay, Briony. Okay, so you grew up where?
I grew up in Connecticut, and I actually went to boarding school quite young. My family, everyone always says, oh, why did you get sent to boarding school? I'm like, no, it was a good thing. I swear, I wanted to go. I come from, a long line of boarding school kind of kids in my family, and that sort of independence and autonomy and had it, sort of being off on your own from an early age.
How old were you? How old were you?
I just turned 14. So whenever people talk about, college being their first foray into sort of an independent sense of running their schedule and getting their things done and all of that, I said, well, college for me was a breeze because boarding school was not, you're sort of figuring it out at 14. And so I grew up there, and my dad actually was English. So he spent summers in England, and all my cousins and aunties and grannies and everything was all sort of spread across England and different parts of Europe. So at the time, as a kid, you could imagine, I was like, I just want to go to Disney World. I don't want to be in Europe. This is weird. Why are we always in museums? And then of course, as I got older, I was like, wait a minute, that was incredible. And I'm so lucky to have had that experience. But, so I would say I was a little bit of a gypsy.
Yeah.
Moved around a lot.
Yeah.
We lived lots of different places. I never actually lived at home again after my freshman year of boarding school. I actually went to go live with a dear friend of mine for the summer. We lived in Atherton, and we had summer jobs and hung out with her family. And that was literally from that point on, I never went home again. So I actually have never spent any time at home in the sort of common definition of that with parents since then. And I'm 43. So it's been a long time.
Serious?
That I feel like I've been a nomad living all over. Yeah.
Actually.
Truly.
That's so from 14, which is about how old my eldest son is. You're telling me my son that can't pick out his clothes nor make scrambled eggs that I made for him this morning before school. You were basically figuring out your life from that point. And listen, I think for Europeans, boarding school is part of the upbringing. And I think it is a very big East Coast thing. Here on the West Coast, when you say you're sending your child to boarding school, they're like, why'd you bother having children? That's like the response, like if you're shipping them off, right?
Yes. And I know for us, it was always, it was, of course, it was such a, I was so lucky to be able to go. I went to Hotchkiss.
Yeah.
Go Bearcats. I was lucky to be at Hotchkiss, and truly my very, very, very best friends to this day are the women with whom we sort of created our own little families together. If you're suddenly sort of thrust into this world of sink or swim, and you either show up for class or you don't. And if you don't,
you get kicked out.
Yeah. My parents, definitely, that was not an option for me.
Right.
So really quickly, you really learn. I remember actually one of the best things my mother ever said to me, just ever in life, and she's a huge influence on me in general. But one of the sayings that really helped me at Hotchkiss and helped me sort of throughout my life, she always said 90% of life is just showing up.
Yes.
Just show up.
Yes.
Do the thing. You say you're going to do it. You show up.
Yeah.
Be on time. Follow through on commitments. just show up. And boarding school, college life, whatever you want to apply that to, I think it really early on taught me about following through on commitments and sticking to some sort of schedule and making sure you're beholden not to someone telling you what to do, but to yourself.
Yes.
You really have to take that control. And that was amazing. So I'm like, where did I grow up? Well, lots of places,
right,
all over the place.
Right.
The common for being me, because there wasn't like there was never really family around me. So
then what happened? So you went to college or no?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Where?
Well, it's funny. I did, but I had two very different college experiences. I went first to Rollins and Rollins College. Raleigh Collie Country Club is this colloquial sort of, funny name. And I went to Rollins because it felt familiar. It's a small liberal arts school in Winter Park, Florida. A lot of, my fellow sort of New York, Palm Beach, whatever, Northeast friends had spent time there. It always seemed like a really lovely school, small class size. And then I got there. And again, imagine this whole sort of boarding school thing. You had to go to class. You had to show up. I was flabbergasted by how many kids who were there found it so hard to show up. And I kept saying,
welcome to college.
Yes. I'm like, this is what we're here for, right? And it was like, anyway, so it was a really, really great place to spend a couple of years. It was wonderful. In full transparency, I will say I was probably had a little more fun than I should have.
Yeah.
And I decided I should move to a place that was also better served to my love of fine art and art history and all the things, which of course led me to Paris. So I ended up transferring to school in Paris and I went to AUP. And every time all the time people say to me, they'll say, oh, Paris, oh, La Sorbonne. I'm like, no, AUP. My classes were in English. I was definitely not proficient enough in French to learn at a university level in French. So we did have 4 levels of French by the time we graduated.
Wow.
And my parents wanted me to have, obviously a full, rich, wonderful education, but with the caveat with transferring, which was I could only do university for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine how tempting the 7-year plan is when you're living in Paris.
Yes, of course.
But yes, it was and many of them, but I was not afforded that luxury. And so my parents said, finish in 4 years, whatever you have to do. So I switched my major to art history. Mm-hmm. It was extraordinary. My love of, beautiful things and textures and colors and all the things was really fed in that environment. And I got to do classes at, Musée d'Orsay and the Louvre. And it was incredible.
The dream. It's actually the dream.
The dream, the actual dream. It's all you feel most stimulated by is design and art and culture. To be able to go to school there was amazing. So I ended up graduating from AUP in 4 years. Well,
wow.
4 years, all the school combined. It was amazing.
Wow. Okay. So then how do you get into I remember you telling me you had a totally different career prior to Jules, right?
I did. And again, this is, as somebody who didn't spend a lot of time physically living with my parents, they clearly had an enormous influence on me.
By the way, I want to talk about that for a second. I think that's really interesting because, I think as such a hands-on parent that I am and that I know you are, I know for both of us, the concept of shipping your young children away is bizarre, but yet I know so many people that do. And I place no judgment because I think in many ways it removes kids from the insanity of growing up in in LA or New York or whatever, where you're dealing with all sorts of stuff where, lack of authority and all of the things that happen, right, that we see over and over. But I also think it's interesting because being away from the parents, but yet becoming these very driven, regimented, motivated, self-starting kids. Because when you're in boarding school, it's not an option, right? When you're home, you can take advantage of your parents, right? You can work them. I know my kids work me. For sure. They do. And I'm not great at the tough love.
Best mama ever. I think that delicious, yummy mothering can be just as effective. I hope. You and I are very similar.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying it's interesting because you clearly have gone the other way. But yet look at the profound impact it had on your drive, your ambition, your success. And I know there's obviously slip ups along the way. There always are. And as you said, by the time you got to college, you were like, let this fall off the wagon right now. I need to deregulate for a couple years.
And by the way, I had straight A's. So just for the record,
yeah,
that's how
of course
well trained I was at Hotchkiss. I was like, if I just show up. Oh, in college, you're physically there.
Right.
It apparently counts for a lot.
Yeah.
So.
But I want to talk about showing up because it's something that I like to talk about a lot because it's the one thing that I think anyone in my life would always say, like, Rachel, you always show up for people. You always show up for your friends. But here's the thing. I want to argue that should be a given. That shouldn't be an accolade. That should be a given. I don't understand.
I can literally hear my wonderful late departed dad saying to me, why should you, or why should one be applauded for doing
the right thing?
Right. Yes. And that was, I think that's a shift in parenting culture kind of in general a little bit, which again, isn't right or wrong.
Yes.
But I know exactly what you people are like, oh my God, Rachel, you said you'd be there and you were. And you're like, well, of course. And by the way, I can say that obviously as a very lucky recipient of your follow-throughness, as somebody who's very grateful for your incredible support and friendship, but to have that be sort of something that isn't necessarily the norm. You're like, no, right. That's we say the thing and then we do the thing.
We do the thing. We do the thing.
So important. And I'm totally with you. So yes, it is a very important thing to me as well.
And I try and tell sort of young people that I mentor now, it's like the value of doing what you say and the value of showing up for people. By the way, showing up for a boss that you hate still is important. You know, I really want to touch on your ability to continue to show up and learning that at a young age and how valuable that is in your career. Okay, so you graduate the American University of Paris. You go, you major in art history, but I believe, didn't you do finance first, or did I make that up?
You didn't make it up, but it sounds as if it was made up because it's so ridiculous. But my trajectory
not as ridiculous as me doing finance, I assure you.
Highly unconventional, my trajectory. But again, back to these wonderful parents of mine who had such an enormous influence on me and their 4-year plan for me, not their 7-year plan, which was once I graduated, they had said, we've done all we can to give you the most, and they did, the best education we possibly can, the, most amazing experiences that we possibly could to set you up to be on your own, 22 years old, to go out into the world and be a productive, functioning member of society, right? That was the goal. So they're like, okay.
Go be free.
Yeah, I know. But also if you're 20,
you're terrified.
I was 22 in Paris, terrified, but madly in love with a city in which I had become very comfortable living, didn't want to leave. And the truth was they completely cut me off. I mean, again, I say this as like at the time you could imagine being like, oh my God, mean, cruel parents. I just want to, be a gallery.
It's called tough love.
Mm-hmm. And they said, well, if you want to stay in Paris, figure it out.
Yeah.
Get a job that can allow you to stay there. And in France and mostly, in Paris in general, the entry level jobs in major corporations. I can't speak to trade jobs as much. I don't know, but I obviously in banking and in architecture and in any sort of roles like that, you start with what's called a stage. And a stage is basically an internship. Mm-hmm. So the first year, in theory, after graduation, everyone's you have a stage. You know who pays? Banks. Big banks. So I said, okay, well, if I want to stay in Paris and I need to be able to support myself to make this possible, why don't I go into finance? And, so many people with whom I worked with whom I, spent time and family friends and people I really admired and respected, of course, worked in finance.
Right.
I was like, well, I know all these wonderful, lovely, kind people who work in this world. I mean, I can figure this out. Like, I want to stay in Paris. And it's like, it was such a sort of me thing in the sense of I really, really wanted something. And so I was like, well, I'll figure it out.
Right.
I'll make it happen. I will will myself into being in a bank with a paid stage. I will stay in Paris. And I was lucky enough to have a really great job offered to me. Actually, having at the time an EU passport also really helped, back to having the English dad. So I was really lucky to be able to be hired by a French company. I worked for Société Générale. I was with FIMAT, which is their derivatives brokerage arm. And I was able to get this job, which typically, obviously not to get into all the rules and regulations of hiring non-French nationals and French companies, but because it was an EU, I had an EU passport, and I was the only native speaker in my department of English.
Wow.
And let me tell you, at 22, going with quite literally no experience at all in finance. And then here I was helping the CEO of the company write speeches because no one else spoke English fluent. I mean, of course they spoke English, but nobody was a true English speaker. They had beautiful English, but not native English.
Yes, of course.
It was the wildest like entree into a world that, I mean, to say I felt like unqualified sort of to a level it's like hard to explain. I literally went from like student in Paris art history, the Louvre, bar, clubbing and Place Pinet, to like, oh, I'm a banker now, and I'm sitting with like these incredibly intelligent, esteemed people.
And was it all men? Was it all men?
It wasn't actually. It was mostly men. Right. There were some wonderful, wonderful women. I could also say it was as a very perky American, very high energy American who genuinely like really loves to work. And I mean, I really love to work. That was also a little bit of an interesting moment to have a lot of grownups whom I, again, looked up to and reported to sort of say like, relax, take it down a notch.
Right.
You don't have to work so many hours, go home. And I'd be like, no. Like, I want to be here. I want to learn. This is all new for me. So I ended up it was an amazing experience. And then from there, I, again, sort of tried. I was like, okay, this finance thing, I have to figure it out, because I really enjoyed being in the communications department, but I realized that there was this other incredible world. We worked really closely with a lot of brokerage houses. So I ended up being hired away by Man Financial, and I was an FX trader. So again, imagine, I was like, trading, like I can trade. I'll figure this out. I mean, how hard can this be?
That would like never happen now. You have to have like finance major. You got to go to, you have to get your MBA. You got to get you have to major in finance. You have to have 10 internships prior. Like, it's so wild.
I'm so grateful. You want to know, actually, that you didn't even ask.
But like, I miss that, by the way. Like, I miss that you can do that. Like, by the way, I didn't go to fashion school. Like now it's so different. Like I miss the days of just pulling people in that they thought were stars and that were great.
Well, one of the proudest accomplishments of my life, which I swear was harder than probably anything other than maybe childbirth, which was the FSA regulations. Mm-hmm. So the one thing I did have to have was, obviously it's the equivalent of like Series 7 or Series 63 in the States, but obviously the Financial Services Authority in England had its own set of regulatory, exercises through which you had to go and take the tests. It was so fucking hard. Mm-hmm. I've literally never been challenged the way that I was with this, because I was learning an entirely new vernacular, right? This is like a language I didn't speak. And it was so gratifying to actually pass first time and to like get all of these different sort of regulatory, things that permitted me to actually legally be able to trade, and to prove people wrong who sort of were like, definitely had a few sort of like, oh, what is she doing here? Why is she being...
If you're like me and you have a couple gals depending on your income, then you should seriously consider having life insurance. It's as simple as that. A term life insurance policy from Fabric can give you the peace of mind that the people dependent on you will have some financial support if something unexpected happens, like falling out of a tree stand. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done right here, right now. You could be covered right from your couch in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. Fabric was designed by parents for parents, and now they partner with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families just like yours for over 50 years. They have over 1,900 five-star reviews on Trustpilot with a rating of excellent. Fabric has more than life insurance, free digital wills, investment accounts to invest your kids' future, and more. You can manage it all right there from your phone. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/TCL. That's meetfabric.com/TCL. MEET fabric.com/TCL. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company. Not available in certain states. Price is subject to underwriting and health questions.
When it comes to living life, there's a lot to overthink. Like most working moms, I am constantly juggling my work and my family life, and sometimes all that decision-making is truly exhausting. But at least I don't ever have to overthink my water. I've been drinking Smart Water for many, many years and truly love its pure, crisp taste. It's vapor distilled through a process inspired by clouds and has added electrolytes for taste. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, every morning, is head down to my kitchen to drink water. Hydrating with Smart Water is my favorite way to start the day, and making that simple choice is such a refreshing change of pace from the whirlwind of my life. Starting my day by focusing on myself and my health is so important to me. I'm always a lover of chic branding and packaging, and Smart Water's sleek bottle shape makes it the perfect accessory for any day bag, workout tote, or backpack. I absolutely love how the rounded bottle fits perfectly into my kids' side pockets for school or camp. Smart Water even looks chic displayed on any counter or vanity in my house. As most moms know, it can be tricky to get kids to drink enough water, but my boys absolutely love the taste of Smart Water, and the sports cap is great for their very, very active days. Smart Water is the smart way to hydrate no matter what you have going on in your life. Life is full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more.
My dad works in B2B marketing, but I never really knew what that meant. Then one day my dad came by my school for career day and told everyone in my class he was a big MQL man. Then he just kept saying things like, the more MQLs the better, over and over. My friends still laugh at me to this day. I think it means marketing qualified lead. One thing's for sure, I'll be known as the MQL man's kid for the rest of my days. Why couldn't you just be a fireman or a lawyer? Why? You ruined my life, Dad.
Not everyone gets B2B, but LinkedIn has the people who do. And with ads on LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people based on job title, industry, likelihood to buy, and more. Start converting your B2B audience into high-quality leads today. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/customer to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/customer. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file, Abbott Diabetes Care. Per prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
When it comes to living life, there's a lot to overthink. Like most working moms, I am constantly juggling my work and my family life, and sometimes all that decision-making is truly exhausting. But at least I don't ever have to overthink my water. I've been drinking Smart Water for many, many years and truly love its pure, crisp taste. It's vapor distilled through a process inspired by clouds and has added electrolytes for taste. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, every morning is head down to my kitchen to drink water. Hydrating with Smart Water is my favorite way to start the day, and making that simple choice is such a refreshing change of pace from the whirlwind of my life. Starting my day by focusing on myself and my health is so important to me. I'm always a lover of chic branding and packaging, and Smart Water's sleek bottle shape makes it the perfect accessory for any day bag, workout tote, or backpack. I absolutely love how the rounded bottle fits perfectly into my kids' side pockets for school or camp. Smart Water even looks chic displayed on any counter or vanity in my house. As most moms know, it can be tricky to get kids to drink enough water, but my boys absolutely love the taste of Smart Water, and the sports cap is great for their very, very active days. Smart Water is the smart way to hydrate no matter what you have going on in your life. Life is full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Just a few years ago, only 3% of domestic violence shelters accepted pets, meaning many abuse survivors had to choose between staying in a difficult situation for their pet or leaving their pet behind. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina believes in the healing power of pets, particularly for survivors of abuse. They believe pets and people are better together, which is one of the many reasons they started the Purple Leash Project. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping break down one of the many barriers abuse survivors face: the lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Purina has helped increase the amount of pet-friendly shelters across the country from 3% to nearly 20% through the Purple Leash Project. With more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters, survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to get involved.
Max Bankman, I'm the new doctor.
Welcome aboard the Odyssey.
ABC Thursdays.
This ship is heaven. We're tending to our passengers' dreams. I'm in.
From 911 executive producer Ryan Murphy comes a splashy new drama on a luxury cruise ship with Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson.
It's your job to keep everyone alive.
She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
Dr. Odyssey. Thursdays, 9/8 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Are your lingering depression symptoms getting in your way? If you're on an antidepressant for major depressive disorder, MDD, and you've made some progress, but your unresolved symptoms leave you feeling stuck, it may be time to ask your doctor about Vraylar, cariprazine. Vraylar is a prescription medicine approved for use with antidepressant medicines to treat MDD in adults. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. Results may vary. Build on the progress you've already made. Ask your doctor if adding on Vraylar to your current antidepressant could help give you a lift in relief. Vraylar is not approved in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis or for people under 18. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness, feeling like you need to move around, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common side effects. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. For a lift in relief, ask about adding Vraylar, Vraylar. Visit Vraylar.com or call 1-877-6-VRAYLAR to learn more.
When it comes to living life, there's a lot to overthink. Like most working moms, I am constantly juggling my work and my family life, and sometimes all that decision-making is truly exhausting. But at least I don't ever have to overthink my water. I've been drinking Smart Water for many, many years and truly love its pure, crisp taste. It's vapor distilled through a process inspired by clouds and has added electrolytes for taste. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning every morning is head down to my kitchen to drink water. Hydrating with Smart Water is my favorite way to start the day, and making that simple choice is such a refreshing change of pace from the whirlwind of my life. Starting my day by focusing on myself and my health is so important to me. I'm always a lover of chic branding and packaging, and Smart Water's sleek bottle shape makes it the perfect accessory for any day bag, workout tote, or backpack. I absolutely love how the rounded bottle fits perfectly into my kids' side pockets for school or camp. Smart Water even looks chic displayed on any counter or vanity in my house. As most moms know, it can be tricky to get kids to drink enough water, but my boys absolutely love the taste of Smart Water, and the sports cup is great for their very, very active days. Smart Water is the smart way to hydrate no matter what you have going on in your life. Life is full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more.
Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file. Abbott Diabetes Care. Per prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Just a few years ago, only 3% of domestic violence shelters accepted pets, meaning many abuse survivors had to choose between staying in a difficult situation for their pet or leaving their pet behind. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina believes in the healing power of pets, particularly for survivors of abuse. They believe pets and people are better together, which is one of the many reasons they started the Purple Leash Project. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping break down one of the many barriers abuse survivors face: the lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Purina has helped increase the amount of pet-friendly shelters across the country from 3% to nearly 20% through the Purple Leash Project. With more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters, survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to get involved.
Max Bankman, I'm the new doctor.
Welcome aboard the Odyssey.
ABC Thursdays.
This ship is heaven. We're tending to our passengers' dreams. I'm in.
From 911 executive producer Ryan Murphy comes a splashy new drama on a luxury cruise ship with Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson.
It's your job to keep everyone alive.
She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
Dr. Odyssey. Thursdays, 9/8 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Are your lingering depression symptoms getting in your way? If you're on an antidepressant for major depressive disorder, MDD, and you've made some progress, but your unresolved symptoms leave you feeling stuck, it may be time to ask your doctor about Vraylar, cariprazine. Vraylar is a prescription medicine approved for use with antidepressant medicines to treat MDD in adults. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. Results may vary. Build on the progress you've already made. Ask your doctor if adding on Vraylar to your current antidepressant could help give you a lift in relief. Vraylar is not approved in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis or for people under 18. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness, feeling like you need to move around, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common side effects. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. For a lift in relief, ask about adding Vraylar, Vraylar. Visit Vraylar.com or call 1-877-6-VRAYLAR to learn more.
Were you a little like Elle Woods? It was like a little like Legally Blonde thing where they were like
Elle Woods. Actually, like
they were like, is she okay? Like, does she really think she's going to be able to do this?
Yes. And then it was literally me like, what? Like, it's hard, but it was so hard. Rachel, it was so hard, but I did it. And I was probably like, again, my next thing of like, I really want this and I can do hard things. like, let me figure it out. So I figured it out. But anyway, finance the FX thing was also really hard, but I ended up moving to New York. And funnily enough, my last job in finance, I can see out my window. I'm on 57th and Madison as we speak. My last job in finance was there. And I worked in private wealth management and worked for a fund of funds with family offices. And so I was like, okay, 3 different markets, 3 different facets of finance. This is all kind of like not bringing me joy. It's interesting and intellectually stimulating, but like not joyful.
Yeah.
So I ended up, but that was my career before my jewelry career.
And then what? And then your first jewelry career was Van Cleef or no? Winston. Van Cleef.
Yeah, the other window. So at 57th, yeah, literally, I can see my last finance job through one window, and my first how I got into jewelry out my other window, and I'm right on the corner. So it's this wild kind of confluence of my worlds colliding. That my atelier, where I'm talking to you here, is right in between my 2 worlds on the 7th floor. I mean, I don't know, getting into like numerology and everything, but it is interesting the way the universe can throw some funny things at you. But yes, I was very lucky to get to work at Van Cleef & Arpels.
So I think it's important to talk about that because then you end up in luxury jewelry. I was on the other side of that luxury jewelry. Like I had private clients, I had my celeb clients, I was pulling from archives and whatever. It's a world that I have been long in love and obsessed with. Probably could work in that if I quit whatever I was doing now, just because
you could do anything. No. You are Rachel.
You want to know what I couldn't do? Finance.
You probably could though.
Nope.
I
nope. Like a black automatic blackout shade goes down in my brain the minute I start looking at numbers. It's like, what? But I would venture to say that all of that experience absolutely helped you every minute of every day of how you've built your current business. I tell anyone who will listen from any mountaintop I can stand on that learning fashion or like entering fashion without any knowledge of business and how it works and some finance and how money works, I would say in this life now is the most important gift you could ever give to yourself. Entering any creative business, because it arms you with a skill set where you don't need to rely on another brain and body to carry that part for you and trust someone else to carry that. And so I think you, without knowing it, armed yourself with the skill set to then do what you love and build what you love. And so after Van Cleef, so you amassed all these incredible clients that just were obsessed with you, right? Like just trusted you. I mean, you're not going to say that, but that's what happened.
Well, I'm very lucky that the experience that I had there was what it was. I also think, to your point of the more traditional path now that I think so many people need to take from, well, I say need, I guess feel that they need to, or environmentally have sort of felt like it needs to be the way of having a formal training in something, then going into that field, then perhaps having a specialty. Then the coolest thing about going from finance to Van Cleef, there's so many things about it that are so cool. But for me, if you imagine almost having a blank slate, like of course I have a colloquial understanding of jewelry. My mother loves jewelry.
Yeah,
I've always loved jewelry. I've loved fashion, beautiful things, like fine. But like a formal training in jewelry, I did not have when I was offered this unbelievable opportunity to be at Van Cleef. So imagine learning everything there is to know about a really specific niche world from arguably, I would say, one of, if not the top house in the world. It's like learning clothing, working at, a Dior couturier in Paris with like they. Of course. It was wild. Like to learn about diamonds, I was being taught by, people who'd been at Van Cleef buying the most important stones for the most important house for 30 years. Right. When it came to watchmaking, we were like in Geneva, like watching watches be made. When it came to the, mystery setting, we were literally standing, which is, the invisible set rubies, standing in the workshop in Paris, in Place Vendôme, watching, one of 2 people in the world knew how to do it. They're like, here's what this is. And it was to learn the world, and also, sort of mise à jour, like the way things are made, the romance of a house, the heritage of a brand, all of this. But I almost, because I had a sort of blank slate, so to speak, I hadn't sort of been in a wholesale diamond world, then been a Safi and a different brand. Then all of my training was with this incredibly rarefied house where I was able to have access to such extraordinary mentors and teachers. And it was a spectacular way to learn about something, obviously, about which I'm wildly excited and passionate. Even talking about it, I'm starting to be like,
I get it. I get it. I've seen it be done. I've seen stones be set, and it was like watching. I mean, it was like watching science. Like, it was literally just the most amazing thing ever. And so how long were you there? How long were you at Van Cleef?
I was there for almost 10 years. And I was in the Fifth Avenue boutique in high jewelry sales. And I used to explain it was like a cocktail party all day, but not really. It was sort of like getting to all day long, talk to people, get to know people, while you're talking and showing them like the most extraordinarily beautiful jewelry, but also it's the people.
Of course.
So cheesy, but you know me. I love people. I love getting to know people.
I get it.
I love, hearing their stories and the exchange of energy and what brought them in and what sad thing, what happy thing, what the intimacy and the sort of personal nature,
the psychology of jewelry.
Yes. I mean, my God, we go deep. It's a privilege, how lucky to get to have people open up about so many things that are so personal. And also when I think about jewelry from that perspective, I mean, it's sitting on your skin, it's like on your body. It's like those talismans it's so intimate. So Van Cleef was incredible. That was an incredible time in my life.
And so what gives you the, actual courage to be like, I'm going to go and do my own like that? Because people ask me that a lot. Like, how did you go freelance at 25? And I'm like, I don't know. I just closed my eyes and jumped. I don't know what to say. Like, so was it the same kind of feeling a little bit?
It's funny that you say it. It's funny that's what your response.
Yeah.
It's so true because I often get asked it in a slightly different way, which is, my clients or friends or whomever will say, wasn't it so scary to leave Van Cleef? And I'll say, what do you mean?
Right.
They'll say, well, how did you have it must have been terrifying because, I'm very lucky. I did well there. I, had it was a very comfortable, happy environment with obviously hugely supported, well-known brand, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no, truly, and I don't mean this in a self-congratulatory way, like it actually wasn't scary because I felt so clear about what was next. And I felt so sure that it was the right thing for me, that it felt exciting and also just very sort of, let's go, let's get on with it. Another one of my dad's phrases, but like, let's do this. Once I decide something, I'm very, very decisive for better or for worse, but I'm like a highly decisive person. I do not dither on decisions. I'm like, once I make a decision, I'm like, let's go.
Also a gift. Also a gift, by the way. Also a gift. What if you make the wrong decision? How do you deal with that?
I figure it out. I always think there's always a way. And in fact, by the way, there certainly when things go a little bit sideways, which of course they do all of the time.
Of course they do.
My first question is, how can we fix this?
Right.
There's always a way. There's always a way. I also always tell my team, there's never, until we have all of the information, it's not necessarily the wrong decision. So sometimes I'm like, initially something can present as perhaps not the best decision. And then take a deep breath. Let's actually gather all the facts, gather all the information, and then let's figure it out.
Okay.
So there's always a way. There's always a way.
So do you ever deal with regret or like getting mad at yourself? Because I deal with that.
That's a really good question. I think I probably am more critical of myself, I guess, than I should be. But also that's what drives me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, so do I feel regret? Not necessarily. I guess, and actually the only thing I ever really feel regret about is not being able to be in two places at the same time.
Same.
And I know that's something like, we've
Same,
talked about that.
Same.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
like, it's hard.
especially when you're in a service business where you're providing clients and they want you present, and it's really hard. As we witnessed last week, as we saw.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Literally. But yes, I take what I do, obviously being in client service, I take, my clients' happiness and satisfaction and their experience with me and with my brand. Like, I hold it so dear. I care so very much. I also obviously am a mother of 2 boys. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I am a friend. I am an aunt. I am, so that's, to me, I think the biggest regret ever is that if I was one place, I couldn't have been in the other place. Like, I always want to be everywhere all the time. And that's tough to manage.
And what ultimately was the driver for you to be like, nope, jumping out on my own? What actually were you just like, I feel I've done all I can here and it's time? Or what was the impetus?
There were I'd say two really clear catalysts for this change. One being I had become a mother in the middle of all of this.
Right.
So my eldest, who is now 11, his name is Reese. So Reese was 2, and at the time of the sort of decision, and you could imagine, obviously, being in a client service business that is non-traditional in terms of hours. Obviously, if it's Christmas Eve and Mrs. Smith wants to see me, well, Christmas Eve plans be damned, and of course I would be there. Of course, you show up. That whole, if you're going to do something, do it all the way. So that was really, I found it started to just be really, really challenging to not have control over my schedule in a way that I could also show up the very best way I could for my clients. So it wasn't about, of course, I could have had a flexible schedule, of course, but then I would have been letting people down who needed me not have a flexible schedule. Right. So that was one thing. And then really the biggest piece of all of it was feeling like there was more that I could do to meet the needs of my clients as pertained to the various aspects of the jewelry world that inherently aren't present when one is obviously representing one specific house.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. You wanted to diversify for your clients. Yeah. Bring them everything.
Absolutely. Literally.
The best of everything. And whether that's estate, vintage, Cartier, or Tiffany, or whatever, or custom Briony, or blah, blah, blah. Right. Okay. I get it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I wanted to be able to, both sort of flex or scratch my design itch, which I'd always been very creative person, always had, sort of my own things, that I was working on from a design perspective. But it was also, as someone who I always say I'm like a little greedy with my love of jewelry, in the sense of I love all of it. I love Jarre, I love Cartier, I love unsigned retro, I love antique Victorian, I love brand new chunky gold that I designed and made. I also, want, if you came to me and said I'd like, a birthstone medallion for my baby boys,
Wear it every single day. Every single day. I sleep in it.
That Aurora Zodiac medallion looks so good on you.
I love it so much. I love it so much. And it is just, I hold it while I talk too. I play with it. It's just the best. But I also, I think that, with the risk of sounding like a grandmother, you weirdly remind me a lot of myself as a stylist, meaning I see the way you light up when you talk about what you do. There's a clear polarizing passion that you have with jewelry. And I think truthfully, that's why we connected at Hello, because it was sort of like I was piled in jewels, you were piled in jewels. We were like, how do our jewels meet? But also I think it is that, I compare it to when I was styling and, certain design houses wanting me to work only for them. It was never an option for me because I was like, I need to touch all of it. I need to pull all of it, And I think it's I don't know. I think it's the spice of life, and I think certainly any industry is being able to see, touch, create your own amidst that. And I think it's funny because people will say, "Oh, well, Briony, so is it just her collection, or is it?" I'm like, It's literally everything. It's the best of everything. And that's sort of what that's how I describe what your business is, honestly. I was like, yes, she makes incredible bespoke this, that, and the other thing, and all this incredible Briony pieces herself, but she really deals and sells also so much in just rare vintage estate and just the most special pieces. So I think it's really the best of all worlds. But I know that you are a mom to young boys, but you're also, you work like crazy. And I want to talk about that because there are challenges with that. So it's interesting because it's like you left something that was sort of like this, okay, I can't, dictate my life, my schedule. But meanwhile, if someone's like, if Angelina Jolie is like, I need you on a plane, or somebody, whoever it is like, I need you on a plane in LA, like there is not one breath you wouldn't take where you're not getting on that plane. Like there isn't a thought. You're going to sort everything out before you go, but you will be on that plane. And I think that's the blessing and curse of your name being on the door. Correct?
Mm-hmm. That's so true. No, it's absolutely true. It's like out of the frying pan into the fire, or whatever the phrase is.
So how do you deal with it? How do you deal, do you find the struggle with being a really hardworking, but really hands-on mom? Because it's real.
It is quite literally my greatest struggle ever in my life, is reconciling the sincere true, I feel like I can't emphasize enough, like passion and gratification and confidence and pure visceral joy I get from building this brand and working with my clients and being surrounded by beautiful jewelry and being trusted with these like incredibly intimate personal projects with the most incredible people ever. And at the same time, obviously, nothing ever possibly could matter more to me than those boys. Right. And it is so, I don't think that there is like a cliche in the world that I haven't heard, for better or for worse, again, of people saying, or it's, God, it's like, it's so hard. I have so many like thoughts and feelings that all are so, it's like waves crashing against each other. Yes, this like tide of almost like competing, conflicting thoughts and feelings. One, which is how proud I am, how very proud I am to model for my boys, just as you do, a strong, confident, brand building, hardworking person who, absolutely loves what they do. At the same time, I also really, really miss them. I get like really, really sad when I'm away from them. And that's such a wild contradiction to be so excited and happy about the thing that also almost like brings me the heartache. Yeah, it's such a wild contradiction.
It is.
And one doesn't negate the other, and they quite literally do coexist at the same time. I will say one thing that really did make a huge difference is my amazing husband, Luke, who is a stay-at-home dad. And having Luke used to work in the city. We both worked in the city. He sold his business a few years ago and, sort of COVID adjacent and all of that. He was in the advertising world. And having him there really helps. Having their grandparents live 2 houses away, my kids, they have the same, I always call our nanny their third parent. We've had the same amazing nanny since before I was pregnant with Reese. So for 11 years, they've had, they have all of these wonderful, loving people forming a community around them. And that has really helped me to feel like they have so much love. And obviously every single second, whether it's a red eye home or it's, getting home late at night after an event, to see them for 20 minutes in the morning before they go to school to then come back, I'll do it. I want it. And then 20 minutes of snuggle time. Again, I know I'm preaching to the snuggling and preaching to the choir here, but having that time, like I eke out every single second I can. And it is so divine to have that time with them. And it is so divine to have this incredible world that I work in and love and brings me so much joy.
And honestly, you don't have to choose. It's just as women, that's just what we live with. It just is. It just is. You literally want to be all things to both. And I think you're doing it beautifully. And I think that, I love watching you win. It makes me happy. I'm excited to see.
Right back at you, lady.
I'm excited to see what's next for you. What is the plan forward? Like, you have so much going on, but as you're building the brand, where do you see it? Like, do you want to lean more into your own? Do you want to keep it equal? Or don't you even, you just take it day by day and you just take it as it comes? Because that's okay too. But I mean, I'm curious.
No, it's a wonderful question. I feel like because everything is so intense and so frenetic, and I'm always sort of moving at such a fast pace. I also always laugh that I can only ever deal. I'm sure my team finds it less funny, but bless them for being so extraordinarily supportive. But I literally only deal with what's right in front of me as it's happening.
Same.
And I think that's part of what, right? And I think that's why you and I are both all so right, so present, so ourselves, so decisive, but also sometimes it's one of those things where someone's like, well, what about the thing in 3 hours? And I'll be like,
can't tell you about that.
I'll know. I'll know in 3 hours. I will figure it out, I swear. But yes, I think the plan would be to keep doing what I'm doing. And I really feel, I don't know. I would love to have a really eloquent response to this.
No, there isn't one a lot of the time, truthfully. I mean, I don't have one.
I guess I would be so happy if I could tell you in a year, in 5 years, and 10 years that I still feel as excited and invigorated and creatively inspired as I do now. It has never waned yet, as I sit knocking on wood. I design jewelry in my sleep. I design jewelry while I'm doing my makeup. I design jewelry while I'm talking to people. I also am always thinking about, when I go to vintage shows, for instance, I'll think about a piece that I saw 4 years ago when you call me and you're like, hey, B,
of course,
I'm thinking I want a 1960s tuba goss, but I'd like it to have, pink sapphires in the front. And I'm like, oh, there was that piece 4 years ago.
By the way, I mean, this year's Oscars, I think I texted you, I'm thinking black, white, emerald, da-da-da. I don't even remember. And you were like this. And I was like, yeah, like that. Exactly.
You also wear jewelry so well.
Wow.
My magpie spirit animal, the two of us, with our 17 pieces of jewelry all at the same time.
Would you say in the business, your bespoke collections are what? Is it 30% to 70 vintage in estate, or is it 50-50? How are you?
It's actually, it's wild. It's exactly 50-50 and not by intent. I know, it's so wild. Wow. Not by intention. And this has been year after year. It's so crazy. And every time we talk about, with our accountants, and honestly, as much as yes, I am a numbers person. Yes, I weirdly do also have a business brain. I actually don't day to day pay much attention to sales and this and that. I'm really focused more on getting through the day and dealing with the jewelry piece. But whenever we do have any type of sort of perspective and have that moment where we're talking about the breakdown of how different, sort of where focus and energy and resources should be designated, it is so wild to me how evenly split they are between the kind of, and I combine, Briony Raymond's collection and bespoke, basically anything that we make. And also I have to note, just because I'm so proud of it, but our workshop is here in New York. So all of our pieces in New York. And it's really important to me to support our wonderful New York workshop and our New York jewelry industry, and to keep things here where my inner perfectionist, I can see things and touch them and see the castings and all that. But it is truly half and half. So, and by the way, again, with pleasure, I'm so glad it's that, because I could never it would be really hard for me if somebody said, oh, well, not that I do take advice. I love advice. I also, at the end of the day, I always say, my decisions, you can tell me all you want, but I will make my own decisions. It would be really hard to choose. And both, thankfully, continue to play equal roles in the business.
Well, I love you a whole lot. I loved having you on. I love keeping it real. And I love watching you continue to win. And I will continue to wear. And I will continue to be dripping in Briony Raymond for the rest of my life.
Oh, well, thank you for the support. Thank you for having me on my very first podcast.
I love you. I'm so glad it was your first. That's so exciting. I love it. I love you madly.
I love you, babe.
Thank you so much to Briony for coming on the pod today. She's so smart and so glamorous. Again, I hate to sound like a grandparent, but she reminds me of myself as a stylist, where someone would ask me a question about a designer or why I loved a certain trend or why I loved fashion. And it was like I couldn't stop spewing why. My eyes would light up. My whole body would get up straight. I would have this like huge east to west smile on my face when I spoke about it. And for me, just getting to interview people that are so passionate, so deeply passionate about what they do is always just really fun for me. And also, I deeply feel her struggles about, wanting to provide her clients with the best there is, and also wanting to show up for her kids every minute of every day and not being able to literally cut yourself in half. It's a real struggle, and one I think many of us and most on Climbing in Heels have to deal with on the daily. So it doesn't go underappreciated that you do. Thank you so much for listening to Climbing in Heels. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the iHeart app, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode this season. And be sure to follow me on Instagram on @RachelZoe and the show at Climbing in Heels Pod for the latest episodes and updates. I will talk to you soon. Mwah.
Max Bankman, I'm the new doctor.
Welcome aboard the Odyssey.
ABC Thursdays.
This ship is heaven. We're tending to our passengers' dreams. I'm in.
From 911 executive producer Ryan Murphy comes a splashy new drama on a luxury cruise ship with Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson.
It's your job to keep everyone alive.
She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
Dr. Odyssey. Thursdays, 9/8 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Are lingering depression symptoms affecting you? If you're on an antidepressant and still struggling with lingering depression symptoms, ask your doctor about a lift in relief with Vraylar, cariprazine. Vraylar is a prescription medicine approved for use with antidepressant medicines to treat major depressive disorder, MDD, in adults. Adding Vraylar to an antidepressant is clinically proven to help relieve overall depression symptoms better than an antidepressant alone. Results may vary. Vraylar is not approved in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis or for people under 18. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Report unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, as these may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, and high cholesterol may occur. Difficulty moving, tremors, slow or uncontrolled body movements, restlessness, feeling like you need to move around, nausea, constipation, insomnia, dizziness, increased appetite, and fatigue are common side effects. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. For a lift and relief, ask about adding Vraylar, Vraylar. Visit Vraylar.com or call 1-877-6-VRAYLAR to learn more.
Lucky Land Slots, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Sure, The Hollywood Reporter makes it easy to stay on top of news about film, TV, fashion, culture, and the business of Hollywood. But to make it even easier, head to THR.com and subscribe to our newsletters like Feinberg Forecast and be in the know on the latest about award season. Or sign up for Today in Entertainment for a good sense of what's happening in the industry. Our THR Charts newsletter highlights what content is trending and worth watching and where to find it. Head to THR.com for all of those and more, and subscribe to our newsletters today.
Vitamin Water was born in New York because New Yorkers wanted more flavor to pair with all the amazing food in the city.
Vitamin Water is so New York, its 3 favorite cheeses are chopped cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, and a slice of cheese pizza. Drink Vitamin Water. It's from New York.